Hello everyone, I hope you're doing fabulously well, and if you're not, hopefully today will just give you some sort of good vibes. I don't know if it will, but I hope that it does something for you, because we need a bit of fun, we need a bit of good vibes, don't we? Like, I know I go on about this like every single time, and I'm sure you're really bored of this, but the weather is not weathering how it should be in March. Do you know what I mean? But on the positive side, we're one step closer to better weather, and I'm very, very excited. I've been watching like old YouTube videos of like Zoella in the summer, and it's made me really, 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 really want summer and just like not having to wear a coat. Like, I'm over wearing a coat. I just want to wear a jacket, but it's too flipping cold to not wear a coat. I even got a scarf out the other day. I'm sorry, but we're in spring. It's March. I mean, it's not technically spring, but something just made a noise in my kitchen. But yeah, it's a weird, I feel like March should be exciting, but I'm not excited because the weather is just constant rain. Like, I know we're used to rain, but like, give us a bit of something, please, universe. Please, just a bit of sun would go down a treat. It would really give me a lease of life. Do you know what I mean? But anyway, today I wanted to talk to you guys about dating. I would say that I have learned quite a lot from my past year and a half of dating. I've been single for 2.5 years, and I didn't start dating until like a year later, like properly dating. I was talking to guys on like dating apps, but it didn't really go anywhere. And in the year and a half of dating, that makes sense. I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot about how to date these days, how boys work, what I like, what I don't like. You know, the important things to me when it comes to dating, what I'm looking for, etc., etc. And I think that from my own personal experience, you only know what you want or if someone's right for you by actually going out and dating. Now, I think it's very, very hard these days to date in general, because you either go on a dating app or you have to try and meet someone in a bar or something like that, which I personally think is very, very hard. If you're someone like me who doesn't go out that much, I'm not really into like going out and getting drunk every week. It's just not a bit of me. I've done that. I'm over it. Like, it's not something I enjoy anymore. And trying to find someone in a bar is very, very hard these days, I think. And if you're not willing to use dating apps, it can be very, very hard. I don't think there's anything wrong with dating apps, but I do think you have to be patient with dating apps, because the way they work is not suited to exactly what you're looking for. They just mess it all up and give you all the people that aren't suited to you, and then one person that is suited to you. And I mentioned in my last episode about quality over quantity that when you're dating, you should always be dating someone who is of the same vibration as you, or like is, you know, in the same position as you, where basically don't lower your standards just to date loads of people. Obviously, if you're in a position where you're like, I just want to date around, I want to see what I like, I want to just, you know, see what happens, then obviously you can lower your standards if you want to. But if you're looking for something forever, like you're looking for like a relationship, you want to make sure the people that you're dating are of the standard that you want to be dating at. It's very easy to drop your standards because you want to go on a date, or you want to date someone, or you want to it to work out. But if I'm going to be completely honest, is what I should have said. Keep your standards high, because the people that you will then spend your time with will more likely work out than they won't, if that makes sense. I just think that dating is literally like walking into a dark, dingy cave, not being able to see anything, and seeing someone and being like, oh, give it a go. And then you have no idea where you're going, and you keep walking in this dark, dingy cave, and maybe you'll find the light at the end of the tunnel, or maybe you won't, and you'll find someone else. It's honestly like a mission. It's a maze out there. You're never, ever, ever going to know whether someone is for you just from looking at their dating profile. You have to actually get yourself out there. I know a lot of people have said, and I've seen this on TikTok a lot, about how dating in London is like the worst thing ever. You're never going to find a man, blah, blah, blah. And if I'm going to be completely honest with you, I hate all sorts of dating TikTok advice. I think obviously, naturally, there's going to be advice on TikTok. There's lots of good advice on TikTok, but there's a lot of like kind of toxic advice when it comes to dating. And I think a lot of people make it out like it's really hard to date. You can't find anyone, blah, blah, blah. Yes, it's not easy. I'm not going to say that it is easy, but you have to actually put in the work in order to find someone and to date someone and it work out. You can't just sit there and wait for them to come. You have to kind of go on some shitty dates. You have to actually understand yourself and understand what you're looking for to make the dates go well. Like for the most part, all of the dates I've been on, apart from the guy I was seeing in the end, but like most of the dates I've been on have been good. They haven't been bad at all. I've been on one kind of crappy date, and yeah, it wasn't great, but like in the grand scheme of dates, I don't think it was the worst thing ever. But I know that a lot of people will say I just keep having bad dates, but it's really about yourself over the person that you're in front of. You need to know what you want and what you're going for, and what, like, when you need to pick out the red flags. You need to know what the red flags are. You need to know what you hate, what you do like, what you don't like. Like, it's so important. And you want to be in the right headspace so that when you meet the person, meet someone of your dreams, you're like, oh my God, yes, 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 yes. And it just works out. But sometimes, you know, you might meet someone and think, they're so nice. Oh my God. Wow. I've never met anyone like this. You almost get blindsided, but you ignore the red flags. And believe me, I've done this. I was dating someone last summer. And I just completely brushed over half of the red flags that I saw very, very early on, might I add. I was talking to my friend Meg about this the other week, about how, like, there was a moment where I was like, I don't know. I literally said to her, I don't know, I'm not sure. And I still carried along because I loved the attention. I loved the, you know, like, I felt like this was in my head at the time. I was in a really low place mentally, so probably wasn't the best situation to be in. But anywho, at the time I was like, this is amazing, he's treating me so nicely. He wasn't really, in the grand scheme of things, like the best person for me to be with, because he didn't give me the time that I deserved. But anywho, and she was like, oh my God, yeah, I remember you saying that. And I was like, if I had that feeling now, where I'm at now, I would have completely binned him off. But at the time, I was in such a weird headspace that I, like, if I just clung to him, I was like, it'll work out, it'll be fine. And I kept telling myself, there's nothing wrong with him. I can't fault him. Like, he's really great. Like, he's such a nice guy, blah, blah, blah. And then when he then said he didn't want anything, I was kind of like, right, okay, well, that's not the vibe you've given me. But after this whole situation, and now I'm at where I'm at, it was just like 7-8 months later. No, 7 months, 6 months later. 8 months later. I don't know. I'm like, oh my God, it was like red flag city. Like, there's just a lot of things that I think, like, that was never going to be suited for me. At the time it worked out, and at the time it was nice, and at the time I really did have a good time, and like, I don't regret any of those things. Like, I did have a really good time and I have really good memories. But at the, like, now, I'm like, he was not suited for you. But I didn't know what I wanted at that point. That was the first person I properly dated for a longer period of time. I dated someone over, like, the Christmas time before that. But we only went on, like, a few dates. And it wasn't really, like, it wasn't the same. Like, this was the first thing, like, proper dating situation I had since my ex, that was like proper dating, seeing each other, hanging out, spending more time together. And no, naturally I didn't know what to expect. Of course I didn't. And like, now I know, going forward into things, how to tackle it, and how to know when you see a red flag, how someone should be being with you, how much time they should give you, how much time they should text you. They should never say that they're too busy, or like, too busy is also one of the worst excuses, may I add, for any human being. If you say you're too busy, it means you don't like them and they don't like you. I don't know why, because I knew this already, but because I was like, I had my rose tinted glasses on, I didn't even pay attention to half the stuff. Like, when he told me he was struggling for time, he was too busy, and then, well, let's just say he wasn't, because I saw him with another girl, and I was like, lies, liar, the boy's a liar, the boy's a liar, he doesn't see ya, you're not looking at me, boy. That, the boy's a liar. Honestly, that's such a good song. Anyway, he was a liar. But we're going past that, because that situation's been and gone. I'm over that. But it was a big turning point for me and dating, and how I perceive dating to be now. And that point when I was dating him, I was in such a low place, and he almost made it worse at that point. But it almost was the best thing to happen to me ever, when he just wasn't interested. Like, when he said he didn't want anything, we stopped talking. It was the best thing that could have happened to me, because from there on out, I focused solely on myself until, when did I go on the next date? Maybe October. I think it was at the end of October. We stopped seeing each other end of July. I didn't go on a date until end of October, I think, something like that. Because I needed some time to breathe, because I had a lot going on, not only with that situation, but my anxiety alongside it with something else. And it was the best thing for me. At the time, I was pretty sad. I was like, what the fuck? I was angry. I was just like, how could you treat me like that? Like, I'm such a nice person. I was like, I couldn't understand it. But now I'm like, well, the universe was telling me something, and the universe said, no. The universe said, he's not for you. You need to get out there quick. You need to go and find something. You need to focus on yourself. And I did. And since then, when I've gone on dates, I've really tried. I mean, it has taken time, I'm not going to lie. I've dated a few guys where I've like been like, oh, maybe you can go. And like, no. My one bit of advice ever is, if you're feeling like, I don't know, on a date, it's a no. And if you're feeling, oh my God, yes, I really like him, it's a yes. If it's a I don't know or a no, then it's definitely a no. You'll get that feeling usually on a first date, whether you like someone, whether it feels right. There'll be some sort of feeling. For instance, I dated one guy, and it was just a bit like, it was a nice conversation, but I didn't feel any attraction to him. But I liked the conversation and we got on, so I kind of was like, oh, I'll see how it goes. Basically, I've learned a lot about how when you date someone, don't just like see how it goes for the sake of it. You have to be like, do I actually like him or not? So yeah, and then we tried going on a second date, and I cancelled it because I was like, he's not for me. I dated a different guy like before Christmas, who we went on a date, and he was nice, and like we got on, but it was awkward. There was awkward moments, and you can feel the awkwardness. You can feel it in your body. And I still went on a second date with him, and then we never spoke after that. So, yeah, you know, and I'm picky as is when it comes to dating anyway. I think that you should be picky. You shouldn't just be like letting anyone in. Especially if you're someone like me. Like I do like people easily, for sure, because I just like everyone. I like to, have good like situations with people. I don't ever want anyone to think that, I don't know, I'm not a very like horrible person. I'm not very like to the point person. Sometimes it can be, but I guess I wear my heart on my sleeve sometimes. I just want everything to be great, and it's not always great. But yeah, I've been on a few dates, and it's just, sometimes you just have to go on some shit dates to understand, okay, well, I liked that he had nice style, but we really didn't like click. Like, I think the most important thing when you're dating someone is you have to click with them like instantly, and it feels so carefree and chill, and not like it's like you've known each other for so long but you actually haven't. That is the kind of thing you want, not something that you have to kind of like, I mean, sometimes with relationships, you do have to build upon them, especially if you've known them for a while, or maybe they're a nervous person, because sometimes people are nervous. Boys especially can get really nervous, and it just depends on the type of person you're looking for, what you like in a guy, because obviously everyone's different. The type of person that I want is necessarily going to be the next person's type, I want someone who's super creative and has like ambition and like loves what I do, has her own job, has her own thing going on, supportive, wants to like literally treat you like a princess. Like those kind of things are so important to me, especially ambition. If you've got no ambition, I'm not here for it. Like, can't handle it. It's just too much. I just don't understand how people don't have ambition. Like I just don't understand it in my own head because I've always had it. But I wanted today to go through some of your guys' dating dilemmas because that's a little brief sprinkling of my dating situation. And well, my past dating situation, I guess, what's happened in the last year. And I want to help you guys as best I can from my own advice. Now, I repeat, I am not a dating guru. I don't know everything about dating. I'm just talking from my experience and from someone who is in their 20s, going into my late 20s, and, you know, is dating and wants to find someone. And these are like the tips, and these are things that I think would help if the situation arises. You know, not everyone is going to have the same situation. Some people will meet one person and be in love with them and that will be great and they've sorted. Other people, it takes a lot of people to date. It really depends on where your head is at. I think a lot of people forget that with dating, you think, oh, just find someone, like you just got to go out and date. You have to have your head in the right headspace and you have to be actually ready for it. Otherwise, it won't happen, or you'll meet someone who is not quite right for you. Headspace is so important. Like, I thought I was in a good headspace, and then when I look back, I'm like, you were not in a good headspace. Whereas now, I truly believe I'm in the best headspace I could be. Apart from feeling tired and being at the wrong time of year and it's a bit groggy, I just feel like I've got my shit together now. I don't have like terrible anxiety, and that for me is really important. So yeah, but anyway, I'm gonna go into your guys' dilemmas because there's some really good ones in here, and I just feel like this could help a lot of people. If some of you are listening who didn't send one, or maybe you do have a dilemma, or you have someone who you know has got a similar dilemma. So yeah, we've got quite a few different ones to go through. I'm going to start with one which I think is quite an important one for all people, because a lot of people go through this, is dealing with a breakup. Now, when I broke up with my ex, we had quite a mutual breakup. It was actually probably one of it was quite easy. We were drifting. We were in Amsterdam. This is a long story. I'm not going to go into the long story, but if you follow me, you probably know that I used to live in Amsterdam. I lived in Amsterdam for a year. Anyway, we lived there. It was like during COVID. We were waiting to get back. Basically, our relationship was, we were just like drifting apart, and like these things happen. And it was kind of, I think we learned a lot about each other when we just were going in different directions. And then by the time we got back to the UK, we just broke up, and that was that. And it was probably, it did make me sad, don't get me wrong. It wasn't a nice situation to go through. Like, obviously you go from having someone that you're there with all the time to them not being there and having no one to talk to. But I had my family around me, so I was living with my parents and my sister, and my sister's boyfriend, was he there at the time? I think so. So it was a really nice situation to be in. Obviously, like, COVID was still a thing, not really doing much. We were just spending time with family. So a lot of those things were quite important to me, and I had the right people around me. But when I went through a situationship and had a breakup, it wasn't a breakup, but it almost felt like a breakup. That was horrible because I really fell for him, and the feeling was not mutual by the time we had the conversation. And I just felt like it was one of those situations where I felt like I'd just been, like, everything was a lie, and I felt like absolute shite because I know how nice of a person I am, and I know that I was only ever being honest with him, and I know how great of a human being I can be towards like a relationship. So that was hard. But my tips for dealing with a breakup, and obviously every situation is different, but first of all, you need to surround yourself with really good people that support you, people that are there for you, people that will help you get through things, will listen to you. Be around your family, be around people that just give you pure joy and love, because those are the people that are genuinely going to make you feel your best. And you also have to spend as much time as you possibly can focusing on yourself. and giving yourself time and feeling the feelings is a really, really big one. If you're upset, cry it out, because if you hold it in, you'll make yourself feel worse, and it will prolong the period of time that you take to get over something. Because ultimately, when you break up with someone and you know it's not going back there, you're not going back there anymore, because obviously, don't go back there. Don't try and sleep with them. It's not the option. No, don't do it. You need to detach yourself from the situation, and you need to give all that time that you would have given to that person to yourself, and you need to understand and work out and feel the best you, but you've got to do it in a process. And sometimes you're going to be sad, because you just are going to be sad. These things happen. You're going to get really down some days, but some days you're going to be really good. And I promise you, in 3 months time and 6 months time, you'll be looking back and being like, God, I was crying over him. Why was I crying over him? And then you'll realise that actually the boy you were dating cringes you out or gives you the ick. And then you're like, oh, God, why did I cry over that? Never cry over a boy, even though we all do it. So, but it is honestly the best advice when you're dealing with a breakup is give all your time to yourself. If you have spare time and you feel worried, or you're like, oh my God, I need to fill it with something, have a new hobby, get a new hobby, do a workout class, join a class, do something fun, get your parents to do something with you, hang out with your friends. If you've got friends that maybe are like in happy, loving relationships and you hang out with them a lot and it kind of triggers you, maybe say to them, look, I love you both. I love your relationship, but can I just hang out with one of you, because I just can't do it at this moment in time. Give all of your time to just being the best you. Have a glow up. Focus on yourself, focus on what you want, focus on where you're going next. Maybe have some goals, some career goals, whatever. Focus on that. Focus on getting yourself better. Focus on making yourself that even better you. Think about what you've learned from the situation. Think about how you can get better from the situation, and just, you'll become honestly the best you, because it is the nicest feeling when you feel almost like free from all of that. And the sadness, being free from the sadness is such a nice thing. It is shit. You will feel sad for a couple of months. There is no denying that. And that's something you have to understand. It takes time, and everyone says it takes time, blah, blah, blah. But honestly, just let yourself feel it. Feel the feelings. Go out and do things, but don't pressure yourself. If you want to lay at home every single night on the sofa, that's okay. Do it however you want to do it. But also speak to people. Speak to your friends. Chat about it. The more you talk about these things, the more you open up, the more you have conversations, the better you'll feel. And the easier you'll find it to move on. You don't have to talk to guys. You don't have to do any of that. Just give yourself that time. But if you do get to a point where you're like, I'd like to talk to someone, maybe download a dating app, but also don't do it if you're not ready, because you don't want to mess other people about, and it can be quite difficult to keep yourself going. And like, I don't know, I think it's not the best thing to be talking to people on dating apps if you're not actually ready to date, because then people just think they've met someone, like people think they've seen someone that they like, and then you're like, no, I'm not ready, and then it's like they've just wasted their time. So I think you have to be careful with those situations. But yeah, just give yourself the time and feel the feelings are the most important things to do. This is a good one. Started dating the guy of my dreams and turned out he's not emotionally ready. And this is going to sound kind of harsh, maybe, and a bit like not what you want to hear. So, warning. But he won't have been the guy of your dreams, because if he was, it would have worked out. Hear me out. You might think that that guy that you met was perfect for you. He was amazing. Like, there was nothing you could fault about him. He was great. Oh my God. Blah, blah, blah. But if he was the right guy for you, it would have worked out. And whether he was emotionally ready or not, he would have just been like, no, I'm going for this. Like, I love this girl. She's amazing. The fact he said he's not emotionally ready proves that he was not ready for a relationship anyway. And you are not suited. The universe has other ideas. And I'm saying this from someone who has had this situation where I thought I met someone who was perfect for me. The universe said, it's not going to work. And this guy was like, I'm not interested. And now when I look back, I'm like, he definitely wasn't the guy for me. He had qualities that made him the guy for me. And he had he is a nice guy for the most part. But he wasn't the guy for me, because if he was, we would have been together. And that's how you have to look at it. If he was the guy for you, it would have worked out no matter what. These situations, I honestly, truly believe that the universe will always have your back. And you might think right now that guy was the perfect man for you, but the universe is saying, no, I know you think you like him, and I know you think that he's the perfect guy for you, but there's something better coming. It's never a no. This is one thing I saw on TikTok, is the universe never says no. It always says, yes, not now, or I've got something better for you, or something like that. And I think this is the way you should look at it. Look at it in a way of okay, if it's not him, it's someone even better. You might have thought that guy was perfect for you, but there's someone even better than that out there. Think about it. There's someone better. And believe you me, genuinely, I say this to myself every single time I go on a date or dating someone. I always say to myself, if it doesn't work out, there'll be someone better than that. There'll be someone even better than that guy. And it does make you feel better about dating, because then you're going through things and you're like, okay, well, if this doesn't work out, I like this guy, but if it doesn't work out, obviously you don't want to look at the negatives of it not working out. You want to look at it in a positive light. But if you look at it in if this doesn't work out, then someone better's coming along. It honestly will make you feel 10 times better. It's a shit situation. Sorry. And I'm sorry that you're having to go through this, because I know how shit it is. I genuinely do. But I promise you that he wasn't the right guy for you, and that the right guy for you is coming along. And months down the line, a year down the line, you'll notice and you'll be like, oh my God, I can't believe I thought he was the guy of my dreams. And I know you might be sat there thinking, well, he is the guy of my dreams. Why are you saying this? He might well be. And also he might well turn around and change his mind one day. But don't hold out hope for one guy that you think might change their mind, because for the most part, boys don't. And you'll find someone who will treat you 100 times better and will actually want to be with you. A guy who wants to be with you will be with you no matter what. And they'll give you your time. They'll give you their time. I'm genuinely, the right guy will give you their time, and they will take you on dates, and they won't leave you hanging. They'll tell you straight up that they like you. They're not going to wait around and not going to play silly games, or say they're not interested, or that they're not ready, because the right guy will be ready. The universe has your back. I promise. Okay. Next one. Okay, this one's quite long, so bear with me, because they're in separate parts, so my brain might not be able to understand them when I'm reading this. But it says, I'm currently friends with benefits with my ex, and we've both admitted we still have feelings for each other, but we are worried about getting together because we're not sure where we're going to be next year in terms of leaving uni, etc. Okay, so dating an ex or seeing an ex is always a bit tricky, because you have past memories, you have a history. So when you sleep with an ex, especially, it can be really, really difficult, because obviously you still have those emotions. They're still going to be there. And I think that this actually kind of adds, I guess, to the previous dilemma, is that you and your ex, you both have feelings for each other. That's great. That's good. You're both on the same page, I guess, which is a good thing in this situation, because these situations can't be great. And I know I said before, don't date an ex, but you're in that situation. And if it works out, I do think sometimes if you're dating an ex, it can work out. I'm not saying that it necessarily is always going to go pear-shaped, but you can do it. If it works out, it works out. In your situation, my advice would be, You have to understand that if he was the right person for you, and if he is the right person for you, and you are supposed to date and you are supposed to be together and it's all going to work out, it will work out. You just have to, I think the best thing to do is, if enjoy it whilst you're there together, why not? You haven't got anything to lose at this moment in time. But you also need to be realistic and be like, well, if you're leaving uni, obviously I don't know the full ins and outs of your story, but if you're leaving uni, he lives one place, you live another place, maybe you're moving to London, he's moving to Manchester, let's say, for example. You have to just let life happen how it's supposed to happen, and try not to think about where it's going, what's happening. If he wants to give time to travel to see you and you want to give time to travel to see him, then it could work out perfectly. But also, if you're traveling to see him all the time and he's not traveling to see you, you have to really make sure that it's worth your while, and just see where it takes you. But also have the conversation with him and be like, look, I really want this to go somewhere, but obviously if we're moving back home, we don't live in the same place, maybe you either say we're going to put 110% into this, or we need to cut ties, because you can't just do it willy-nilly, you can't do it half-hearted, you can't just do it whenever one of you feels like you want to have sex. Like, you can't do it like that, especially when it's with an ex. It'd be a bit different if it was just a friends with benefits, but because it's an ex and you've said you've had feelings, you need to like either go all in or all out. I don't think you can really sit in the middle, especially when when you're probably leaving uni and moving home, which obviously I don't know where you both live. Obviously if you live fairly close, it'd be different. But I would say right now in the situation, like if you've still got time at uni left, I wouldn't say break it off now, because the likelihood is you'll get drunk and you'll end up with each other every night anyway. So I think enjoy it for now, unless you're really, really strong-minded and you're like, nope, we're ending it here, it's not going any further. You could end it, but I would say enjoy it for now. You're young. If you're still at uni, just enjoy it. Uni is fun. Don't like stress yourself out. Like, if you're in your last year, you want to enjoy yourself, have fun with it, why not? And then have that conversation and be like, right, we're either all in or we're all out. This would be my advice. Obviously it's completely up to you what you do. And then go home. When you move home, maybe you have some plans in place. If you are going to do it, have plans in place to see each other. When you're going to see each other, make it like a thing so that you know you're going to see each other. If then things start breaking down, you cancels, or you're always going to him or he's always going to you, then you need to have the conversation of like, is this working or not? But I think just see where life takes you, because if you are supposed to be with him and he is supposed to be the person that you'll be with for the rest of your life, it will all work out how it's supposed to. And I'm such a firm believer in that. Like, everything will work out how it's supposed to work out. So try not to stress too much about where it's going. You're so young as well. If you're still at uni, like, you've got so much time and life ahead of you. Don't stress too much about where this is going, because you've got so many other things. When you leave uni, you're like looking for a job and all these things. I think that you'll start to feel a little bit more at ease if you just try and see where it goes, but also have that conversation with him and actually like chat about it, because you need to make sure that your headspace is in the right headspace and you're on the same page, especially with an ex, because you do have history, and there's nothing worse than, I don't know, like, you don't want to make it complicated and you don't want to make it difficult. You want to make it easy breezy, but also enjoy yourself, because like I said, you are young and you're at uni. And when I was at uni, I had a great time. I wasn't with an ex, but I had a great time. Like, just enjoy those last moments, because when you look back on uni, you want to make sure that you're like, oh my God, I had such a good time. And don't, do something now that might affect how the rest of the last little bit of your uni life goes. Do you know what I mean? I hope this really helps. I don't know, because like, obviously I've not dated an ex, or like, had like slept with an ex and then had feelings. I just don't know the best option, but that would be where I would go with it. How long should I be dating multiple people for? Ooh, good question. So one thing I've learned about dating is that in this world of dating, especially in London, I guess, you've got to date multiple people. And believe you me, it's really flipping hard. I can't date multiple people. I find it really, really difficult. I date one person at a time. I don't really want to date multiple people. I only want to date one person. And then if it goes wrong or if it goes right, whatever, I'd rather do it that way and just deal with it each time than date. Because I forget what I tell people. I forget what I tell my friends. I forget what I tell people I'm dating. I can't remember because I have so much going on in my little brain that I can't remember, because all of my friends are separate as well. I can't remember who I've told what to. So if I was dating 3 guys at once, oh my God, I'd be like, did I tell you this? Did I not tell you this? And I think it's almost kind of like when you're dating someone as well, you almost kind of like, it can be a bit shit if the guy notices that you keep telling him things that you've already told him and you keep forgetting. It can be really a bit like, who else is she telling these stories to? Same way around, you know what I mean? And I noticed this once when I was seeing someone. And he told me a story. I was like, you've literally told me this like yesterday or the day before. And he was trying to tell me the same story. And I should have clicked on at that point. Well, towards the end I did click on, but I was just like, whatever. But what I would say is, what I think is good when you first start dating someone is to keep your options open until they've given you a reason to believe that, you know, they've only got eyes on you, or they're only dating you, or you've had that chat. You've got to kind of keep your options open. You've got to keep, because if you dive too deep into one person and find they only wanted to have sex from you, then you're kind of like giving too much time to someone that was never going to give you that time. So you have to kind of wait. The best advice I would say is, until a guy has given you a reason to believe that he's not dating anyone else, or he said you're exclusive, or that he isn't dating anyone else and he's only dating you, you kind of have to keep your options open. You kind of have to maybe see where things can go with other guys, but also I think, you know, deep down in your gut whether you should be dating other people or not. Obviously every situation is different. Like I said, I'm not very good at dating multiple guys at once. I find it really, really like time consuming and draining to just date random human beings I don't want to date. So I do just date one person at a time, and I'll give my time to that. And if it doesn't work out, then I'll move on. And if it does work out, hooray, success. So yeah, I think until they give you a reason to, but like, also, like I said, you would know in your gut whether if this person is right for you or not. I think you always do. If you get a good feeling about someone, or you feel comfortable with them very easily, or if they've just said to you like, I'm not dating anyone else, or like, I don't really like dating, like it's rare for me to go on a date, or whatever, you'll get a vibe. You'll know if someone is like a constant dater or not. Like, you will just know. Or if they like hide their phone from you, or, you know, there's lots of vibes. There's lots of telltale signs from the male population as when they're dating someone else, because they won't, I don't know, a phone is not necessarily a good answer, but when they keep repeating things that you've already heard like 100 times, then, you know. Or if they say they're busy all the time. Stupid excuse. But yeah, I think just if they've given you a reason as to why they are only seeing you or whatnot, then cool. If they haven't given a reason, or you're feeling a bit not sure about it, then keep dating other people. But obviously you can date one person at a time, like me. It's not, I think if you're going into the dating scene and you're like someone who falls quite easily, do keep your options open. Don't go straight in head over heels, because it's not a vibe. You don't want to get hurt, do you? That's the end thing. This is a good one, actually. It's just so hard to bring up my needs and boundaries. Needs and boundaries are really important to set like early on, but I think with the right person, the boundaries will be there and they'll respect it, just because they're the right person and they know that they don't want to do something wrong, or they don't want to make you feel shit, whatever. But for instance, if you're someone who doesn't like having sex until like the 3rd, 4th, 5th date, then they should respect that and be okay with that. If they're not okay with that, then they weren't right for you anyway. But any boundaries, whether that's a boundary of like not willing to be too open and honest. Or like, for instance, when I first meet someone, I'm quite guarded. I can't give my full like self when I first meet someone. I have to gauge what they're about before I can give my full self to someone, because it just worries me a little bit. I don't know why. I just don't like to give too much to the wrong people. So that's a boundary that I set myself. The guy doesn't know that, although I always get told that I can never be read on the first, like on a first date. When people first meet, they can't read me, which makes so much sense, because I'm like, this is my guard and I'm not going past it until I know that you're actually decent and a nice person. But I think the best way to do it is if you've got a really strong boundary that's really important to you, that you don't want to be crossed, you need to just straight up be like, look, this is it. And I don't like that. And obviously everyone's boundaries and needs are different. Like for instance, if you're someone who has a love language of gifts, then that is something that you need to convey to someone that you like, and that makes you feel good, because they're not going to know that. Everyone's love language is different. My love language is like quality time, and also touch. Like I love a cuddle. It just hits different. But I am a quality time person. I personally believe that if someone gives you their time, then like that is the most important thing. Giving someone your time is so important. And if you can't give someone your time, then do you really want to be around? Do you know what I mean? Does it make sense? I don't know. But I think you just got to be open and honest. Communication is so key. And actually something I've learned through the last year of dating is that communicate. If something's bothering you, if something's pissed you off, if something's annoyed you, say it. Because the right guy will just be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Or you'll have a conversation about it and it will get squashed and it'll be fine. But I think if you don't communicate your like issues, your needs, when something bothers you or something's like making you feel upset, then you're never, ever, ever going to feel comfortable enough to have these conversations about your boundaries and whatnot, because you can't communicate. Communication is key. But I think you've just got to, if you don't feel comfortable sharing your boundaries, then I just feel like maybe they aren't the right person for you. You should always, when you meet someone and you want to share your boundaries and your needs, you should feel comfortable just having that conversation. Obviously, it's never easy, but yeah, I hope that helps. I'm going to do a few more. I've only got a few more left, to be honest, that I think you guys will find useful. Can't stand the no texting back. What do I do? If they don't text you back, you archive their WhatsApp chat and you never talk to them again. If someone doesn't text you back, do not bombard them with texts. Do not do it. Don't call them. Don't try and message them. Don't do anything. If they stop texting you back, you archive them or you delete their number or whatever, and you get on with your day and you meet someone new. Because the minute you give too much time to a male human being or girl who's not giving you the time of day, you're only affecting yourself. You're only irritating yourself, because he's not going to reply back. Boys will just ghost and they will leave it and they'll never text you back. And it is the weirdest thing. They have no balls. And just, if they're not texting you back, move on. Just delete them. Archive them. If they don't text you back, archive them. The archive section of WhatsApp is great, because then you don't see their number, you don't see the chat, it's hidden, you don't even think about it. And if they do text you back, you get a little number, like a little 1, so you can click on it and see if they have replied. You just don't, if they're not texting you back, it's a sign, and just move on. Like, don't keep bombarding texts. Obviously, you can send a text. Say you send a text like, what are you up to tonight? No reply. Doesn't reply for the next day, and you're like, okay, I'm going to try one more time, see if he replies. Hey, how are you? No reply. Then you archive that idiot, because they clearly don't want to talk to you. And it's not a reflection of you, it's a reflection on them. But if they're not texting you back, just archive it. You shouldn't be waiting like multiple days to get a reply. You should get a reply within the day, not multiple days. Multiple days means, well, their head's clearly not there. So that would be my advice. Archive is a great tool. Use it. Okay, last one. Long time since I've dated anyone. Finding it really hard to find my way back. Help. Okay, so this is a good one actually. If you're looking to date or you're wanting to get into it, my first number one top tip is download a dating app. I know that not a lot of people, some people don't like to use them, but I think they're really good because it helps you start those conversations with guys and like start to get into it. I would recommend Hinge. The others are not very good. So create a dating profile. Get your friends to help you if you're struggling, and just tip tappity tap, swipe, say yes, say no. I say no to most of them on Hinge, but you just go through it and then maybe you see someone and you have a conversation. And even if you're just starting have conversations, you'll start to work out what you like, what you don't like. Then when it goes into like everyday life and like you're at a bar or something, you see a guy that you like, then maybe you can like create something in my kitchen's making a noise. So yeah, start a dating profile. So then when you go into like general life and you're seeing people, you can kind of figure out what you like, maybe go up to someone, have a conversation. If you don't want to have a conversation, you can easily like look at different guys, give them the eye. Best advice if you're struggling and you don't know where to start is download a dating app and just start talking to guys, having conversations. When I broke up with my ex and then I decided that I wanted to like start having conversations, I wasn't ready to date, but I wanted to have conversations. I wanted that, almost like getting attention, I guess. I started having conversations and I started to figure out what I liked about guys and what it was I was looking for. And I felt I didn't necessarily have the confidence to go on a date, but I did enjoy the conversations. And you're going to find this mad, but some of the guys that I spoke to when I first downloaded some of the dating apps still follow me on Instagram, and every now and then we have a conversation. And it's the weirdest thing because there's no way that that's going anywhere. But, you know, they're almost like friends at this point. So yeah, download a dating app and just have a little chat, figure out what you like, figure out what you're interested in. If you haven't dated a long time, sometimes you might not know what your type is. If you've only dated like one type of person and that's from when you were younger until now, sometimes you don't know what your type is because you've not like had the chance to see what else you like. So definitely just have conversations, chat. It's the best way to start, and then you can figure out whether dating apps are for you or not, whether you want to do it a different way. And you'll learn a lot about how you're feeling about dating and what you want to do, and if you want to go on a date. And you might get asked on a date very quickly. Dates happen very quickly, and they should happen quickly. If you're talking to a guy and you're getting on and it's good, you should be going on a date within the week. You shouldn't be waiting forever to go on a date. So that is my best advice on starting to date. And those are my nice little chatty tips on dating. I hope that this has given some of you a little bit of good advice and a new lease of life for the dating scene, because I know it's not easy. But everything does always work out how it's supposed to. So whether you think the guy's for you or not, or whether you think if they're the right guy for you, it will work out and it will be amazing. And if it's not, then someone even better will come along. And that's just something you should live by, because especially during dating, until you're like, you know, exclusive or whatever with someone, you've got to believe that everything just works out how it's supposed to work out, and the guy that you're meant to be with will be there, and it will be amazing. But sometimes you do have to kiss a few frogs before you get to, you know, your Prince Charming. So yeah, but anyway, you've still got time to find the perfect person for you. You've still got time to figure out how dating works. You've just still got time, so don't stress about it. Make sure you follow the Still Got Time podcast Instagram and TikTok, which is Still Got Time podcast. You can also watch on YouTube. So if you're watching on YouTube, hello. Please do subscribe if you are watching. I'd love for you to come back and watch me every week if you're interested. And do please follow the podcast and give it a 5-star rating if you are listening. It means a lot to me. But anywho, I will see and speak to you next week. Bye!